Sorry about that. You know, I'm just watching or rewatching Commando Solo's video on what's it called? Let me see. How to Fix It #2 Story Engine and the Worf Effect. Worf, in case you guys don't know, was basically one of the lead characters in Next Generation of Star Trek. And the reason he brings this up is something that a lot of people have looked at. A lot of people have complained about, criticized, tried to basically let the show staff know, hey, you could do better than this with these characters. And that is Celestia, Luna, and even Cadence. Shining Armor as well. When he talks about Worf, he talks about the fact that here you have a strong character that believes in strength and honor. But yet, when approached by certain antagonists, mostly his own kind, he is beaten. He is beaten down. He is, what's the word I'm looking for? He is beaten. He is belittled by the antagonist, by their enemies. And like I said, if it's if it's his own kind, even worse. And Commando Solo brings up a point that's how Celestia, Luna, and Cadence are. That even Shining Armor, but mostly the three princesses that I mentioned, that as powerful as they are, they shouldn't be, as he puts it, dwarfed. They shouldn't be belittled, broken down, beaten so easily. That they should be the kind that because of who they are, should be able to handle stuff better. Shouldn't be captured so easily, shouldn't be defeated so easily. He points out the fact that when My Little Pony the movie starts, that basically about, excuse me, about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes in, we have Celestia in the Kingdom of Canterlot, we have Celestia, Luna, Cadence in the Kingdom of Canterlot going down just like that for the, as he puts it, the upteenth time. And that is true. That does happen. Not for the upteenth time as far as I know, but still it happens. But I get what he's saying as well. He brings up that the story could have been easily more enjoyable had the Royal Guard been there, had Shining Armor been there, had a better defense to defend against any kind of invasion been there, so that if even Celestia, Luna, and Cadence got captured and turned to stone, that Twilight would have a more easier way along with her friends to escape and go for help. And that's a good idea, and that's a good point. That's a good point. There's no doubt I can relate to that. That, and so can everybody else. But here's the thing though. What Commando Solo doesn't seem to realize, and no offense, doesn't seem to realize, it doesn't point out, is that everything he says is on point. Everything he says is on point. However, what you don't seem to realize, and some people have pointed this out, even Map, Anthropony, and I think Josh Scorcher has pointed this out, is the movie was first conceived around season 3 and 4, mostly season 4. So what Megan McCarthy had to work with when she was writing the script for this story was what she had to work with in season 4. Now, some people would say, well, she had plenty there. She had Discord and everything. Yeah, but here's the problem. Take a look at the season 4 finale. That will answer your question. And when you think about it, the Royal Guard and even Shining Armor haven't been used as much. And I'm sure Megan McCarthy has heard all of this already. And I'm sure her response is, hey, I could have used them, yes, but they would have suffered the same fate as everybody else. Because the main focus was on Twilight and her friends. Here's why. As some people pointed out, the way the story overall was structured was sort of a hybrid of a story for the fans, for the longtime hardcore fans, the Bronies, the Pegger sisters, and whatnot, but also a story for newcomers, for casual viewers, casual moviegoers. That's how it was structured. Now, should it have been structured that way? Absolutely not. If you're going to hybrid it, you need to hybrid it to where it's a perfect balance. To where, in a sense, not only when what I'm trying to say is, not only do when these characters appear on screen, that the established fan base know who they are, but you want to hybrid it, you want to blend it to the point that it works out to the point that the established fans know who they are, know what they're about, and in a sense that it bounces off easily as an introduction. You kind of blend it in smoothly as an introduction for the newer people. Like, oh, I see, this is a character, this is going to be the wacky character, or this is going to be the diva character, or this is going to be the down-to-earth character, or this is going to be the shy and nervous character, So, if it would have been done that way, where it was like a seamless blend of a hybrid, well, it's basically perfectly balanced out, things probably would have worked better. There's no doubt. In the eyes of a lot of fans, it would have worked better. But the story, as some have pointed out, wasn't balanced. It wasn't balanced to the point that, as Commando Solo puts it, they could have easily had a defensive front against this invasion by Tempest on behalf of the Storm King and all that. Just long enough to allow Twilight and maybe her friends to escape and go for help. It didn't have that, and it should have. I do admit they should have had something, but they didn't, and that's where some people say the unbalancing is at. It's like, why didn't you have that at least? They could have suffered the same fate, which I'm pretty sure Megan McCarthy would have pointed out and said, yeah, that's what would have happened anyway. But still, you would have had something there that would say, hey, at least we're giving Twilight and her friends an opportunity to escape and go for help. You could have done that. But you didn't. They didn't do that. They didn't. And again, Commando Solo does bring up a few good points. The way Celestia and Luna and Cadence are used at times, not just in the movie, but in the series, it's basically like, why? They are the most they, along with Twilight, are the most powerful alicorns on the planet, in that kingdom. Why relegate them to being easily defeated? He even points out to Season 4, the premiere there. It's like, how can characters like Luna and Celestia be easily defeated by vines, plants, if you will, being as powerful as they are? That shouldn't have happened. So, I get what he's saying. The one thing he uses is examples from Star Trek. He even uses a book that he read called The World of Star Trek, and where the author asked the question of why Captain Kirk was always risking his neck along with Spock in almost every episode, when he had maybe 400 plus crew members, and he could have chosen any one of them to go in his place, or any group of them to go in his place instead. It's like, why couldn't he choose that? Why couldn't he do that? That was bad story structuring. It's like, look, you got all these people on your Enterprise, on your ship. Why not choose any of them to go instead of you? But then he brings up Next Generation, and he basically says that Next Generation did it better. Because Patrick Stewart's character on there didn't go a lot on these missions. Instead, you had the commander, the second in command, go instead. Well, Patrick Stewart's character would wait on the Enterprise, worrying, being concerned, trying to plan out what's going to happen next, stuff like that. He points out that Celestia originally started doing something similar, to where she would have to send Twilight into situations that would endanger her. But it was all for a reason. The reason being that the original intended end goal at the end of all of it was for Twilight to ascend to alicorn status. Although Lauren Faust said that was originally meant for the end of the series, not the middle of the series. But yet it happened. And Solo also points out that even after that, going forward, they could have easily had Celestia send Twilight on different missions, different ambassador missions, conferences, and all that, interacting with these different other ethnic groups, races, ethnic and races of groups around Equestria and around the rest of the world, while she, like Patrick Stewart's character in Next Generation, would wait in her throne room or wait in Camelot and kind of be a little concerned and nerve-wracking of, what will the outcome be? What will the result be? Did she do the right thing? Stuff like that. And that is indeed true. And that to me is indeed true that they could have done that. And as a matter of fact, they have hinted at times that Twilight has helped Celestia. There's a moment at the beginning of the Stranger Than Fanfiction episode where Twilight mentions that if she didn't have to go with Celestia to this conference or whatever in one of the other kingdoms, she would have gone with Rainbow Dash to this convention, to this Daring Do convention. So overall, when you think about it, Commando Solo and everybody does have a point when it comes to the MLP movie. Now, I stick by what I said when I came out of the theaters on opening day. I think it was great. I stick by everything I said. If I could find it on Facebook, I will. On one of the Facebook group pages, I will. But I stick by what I said. I really do. But I understand, looking back on it now, where some people are coming from. It's like the story engine could have been easily better structured. You could have had more emphasis on, well, not more emphasis, but you could have better structured the story to the point that, you wouldn't have to have Twilight and her friends confront Tempest and the Stormtroopers, yeah, that's their names, and then get blasted down a river or blasted off a bridge, basically have a bridge broken and have them falling into a river. You wouldn't have to deal with that. You could have easily had a defense to where, like I said earlier, Twilight could have walked off could have escaped with her friends to get help. But again, the one thing some people seem to miss out on is the fact that Twilight, well, not Twilight, but at the time the movie was conceived and was being scripted, by Megan McCarthy and the rest of the creative staff, it was being done around the start of season 4 and at the end of season 3 and almost to the beginning of season 5. That's why you didn't have what you felt was needed in there. Because even though they say the movie is supposed to take place between season 7 and 8, you could pretty much tell that's not the case, especially when you look at the season 8 beginning. You can almost feel like there's something off about it. Like you can feel that there's something off about it, if you will. And that you can almost feel that in a sense, the original script for season 8's premiere wasn't supposed to be worded or written the way it was. You could almost feel like there was something a little off. Even though the episode was good, and it was nice the fact that they acknowledged the continuity to the movie, the point is you could feel a little bit of force, a little bit of like awkwardness there, like something is a little off. That's because when you watch the movie doesn't feel like it takes place between 7 and 8. It feels like it takes place between 4 and 5. That's what it does. And I think that's why a lot of fans, they still enjoyed it, they still loved it, just like I did, but besides that, overall feel that, hey, if you're going to say this takes place between certain seasons, be honest and say it takes place between 4 and 5, not 7 and 8, because if it's supposed to take place between 7 and 8, where were these other characters? Yeah, you added in Trixie and Starlight, but the only reason you added them in at the last minute, and some people will point out, is to try to make it feel like it's, in line with the current seasons, with the previous season and the upcoming season. But besides that, the overall feeling is, that's not the case. The overall feeling is you take out those cameos and without a shadow of a doubt that this takes place between 4 and 5. I mean, yeah, you could add Cheese Sandwich in there because he's part of season 5, I believe. But still, it's like, or season 4 and 5, but still, you take out the cameo by Starlight and maybe Trixie, or at least maybe Starlight, and it's like, you pretty much know that this is a movie that takes place between season 4 and 5. And that's why the story engine, as Commando Solo puts it, is a little off. And that's the same thing with a lot of people. You know, even though the movie overall is enjoyable, this thing that kind of keeps it unbalanced, kind of puts the story in an unbalanced state, is the fact that it takes place between 4 and 5, and not 7 and 8. And that's why it feels like it's a little awkward. You know, that's why you don't see the Royal Guard. That's why you don't see Shining Armor. That's why you don't see Discord or anything like that. You know, a lot of what happened to the rest of the kingdom could have happened to them. Maybe not Discord, but you get the point. Well, maybe Discord, who knows, as powerful as Tempest was, as hardcore as Tempest was getting. Who knows. But the point is, when you think about it, when you really think about it, the reason that the story engine suffered was mainly because it took place, the overall story structure of the movie took place between seasons 4 and 5, not 7 and 8. Because if it would have taken place a lot later, then you would have seen Discord probably there. You probably would have seen the Royal Guard there and all that. So, and Shining Armor and everything. But because the movie doesn't take place between last season and this season, and really takes place between 4 and 5, that's where the story engine and the story structure becomes a little bit unbalanced. And again, that's why I understand. And again, that's why I can kind of get where Solo's coming from. And that's where I also get, a lot of people that brought this up are coming from. And I think Matt I think Anthropony brought it up best, I think, in his review of the movie. It's pretty clear that you could see it takes place between 4 and 5, so why not acknowledge that? But, since the plan was to bring it out this year, they had to do what they had to do. But, they did what they had to do, give them credit that they did the best they can, but I do agree that they could have put some kind of wording, like text at the beginning of the film saying this story takes place between seasons 4 and 5, or between seasons 4 and 6. And you know what? That would have made more sense. It would have made more sense, but they were determined to make it between 7 and 8. And like I said, you can kind of see the awkwardness at the beginning of the premiere of this season. At the premiere episode, at the very beginning of the premiere episode for this season, you can kind of see the awkwardness. You kind of feel that. It's like there was something changed in the script to make it more in line with the movie continuity-wise. So you can kind of sense that. You kind of feel that. I do. I don't know about anybody else, but I do. But overall, yeah, the reason the story structure, the story engine was a little off Commando Solo is, and anybody else listening, isn't because, the princesses got Worfed, if you will, like they've done before. It isn't because the Royal Guard wasn't there when they should have been and gave Twilight and her friends a better chance to get away and go for help. The story structure was off because it takes place, the script was written during a time, it was written by Megan McCarthy, and Megan's most recent script writing duties for the show was during season 3, 4, and I think even 5. That's why it feels a little out of place. That's why it feels like something is off because of that. So hopefully my reply here hopefully you guys listen to my reply to that. Take your time with this. It's going to be about 20 minutes. I'll probably put that in the description. So, but yeah, that's just my reply to Commando Solo's video. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'd like to hear from you. Take your time in listening, and I will talk to you later. God bless. Take care.